All right, so I'm out the land today and I brought this new quick hitch that I purchased for my tractor. This is the new addition that I'm putting on my TYM 754. This is a new tractor. It's probably got less than 10 hours still on it. And every tractor I buy that has a 3-point gets a 3-point quick hitch. If you do them right, you have your implements and everything set up right, I don't think there's a quicker way to do the 3-point hookups than a real just quick hitch. The traditional kind. I mean, it's a great tool. I've used the other type of quick hitches that are like the Pats, things like that, but you still got to get out of your tractor. You still got to put the top link on, do things like that. If you do this type of quick hitch right, I mean, you don't even have to get out of the cab. You just back it up, line it up, lift it up, you're gone. So let's check this thing out. Let's take it out of the box and look at everything that this quick hitch came with and get it hooked up to the tractor. All right, and here it is out of the box. Now, this one I did get on Amazon. So this was the best price, honestly, that I could find. Now, the Harbor Freight one, even with coupons, you know, it still comes out pretty much more than this one was that I got on Amazon. This one is sold by a company called Vever. I'm sure these are all pretty much the same, but the other cool thing is, if you get the one from Harbor Freight, it doesn't have the receiver hitch piece on it right here. So if I want to move around like a gooseneck or something like that, I just put it in and I can use that too. So it has that extra feature. Another thing I kind of liked this one, I believe the Harbor Freight one before, it didn't have these little pins that you can pull out with a cotter key. They were kind of like, I think, welded at the end. What I actually like about the cotter keys is the ones that were welded before, they still were just as loose as these, but you couldn't do anything about it, right? You could try to put some little clips there and they'd probably fall off. But if it's like this, I can pull this cotter key out and I could put some washers in there and I could tighten that gap up and make it nice. Now, you don't probably really need to because the bushings you put in here are big enough where it doesn't matter if this thing's either way, and that's probably why they designed it like this, is it's still gonna hold with that big bushing that's there. But, you know, I like the option where I can just go in and fix that or put a new pin or do whatever I want to there. Same thing up here when I gotta put these handles on. They're just, you know, little cotter keys in there. Of course, it does come with the pieces here. This is the handles, the little rubber pieces that go on the handles and some of the little levers. It's all you really got to assemble is you got to put this in there. You got to tighten down your hook at whatever location you want. On my last one, I ended up welding this because sometimes the bolts would get in the way on some of my implements. So last one I did, I ended up putting it exactly where I wanted it. Then I clamped these pieces here together real tight, and then I just did a weld, and it lasted forever, even when I got rid of that tractor. So I may do that, but for now we're going to leave the bolts in there. Now, the other thing I want to note is that this is a Category 2 tractor, but I did not buy a Category 2 quick hitch. So most of my implements, actually all of my implements, are either Category 1 or they're drag type. So really, unless I'm going to buy new implements that need to be Category 2 to be stronger, I'm only going to need Category 1. And all that really entails is I've got to put bushings. Like, these are bigger pins here. This is a Category 2 hole, and a Category 1 hole would be smaller. So the pins that come with this to go into here would need to be Category 1 with a bushing on them so they fit nice and sturdy inside of these Cat 2 pins or balls. And then of course the top link here is going to be Category 2, so I got to do the same thing. But I did buy some bushings, and I'll also put a link down in the description so you know what I'm talking about when it comes to the bushings and everything. But I'm fixing to go grab them and get this thing installed. So here's a tip when you're putting the handles on this. If you noticed earlier in the video, there's this rod here and it's got this pin through it, and then there's a cotter key on the other side. Well, that's pulled all the way down to this because there's a spring in there putting a lot of pressure on that. And there's this metal, you know, piece here that moves back and forth because of that. If you take off the hook, which is not very tight, bolts are easily hand tight, you can just take it off. You can use the hook to push that lever in, which then releases pressure from that spring. It puts this pin up really high, so you can take that off, put the pin in. You know, and these are real easy to put on at that point. So don't try to struggle pulling that pin out. There's a big, strong spring that's in there that's going to make you struggle. So push that in at the bottom and you'll have no problem hooking those pins and the handles back in. All right, so this applies if, again, your tractor's Category 2 and you're putting a Category 1 quick hitch on. They do make Category 2 quick hitches. So if you're using a lot of Category 2 implements, get the Category 2 quick hitch. But all of my implements are Category 1, at least the ones I have right now. I am putting this Category 1 hitch on. So to do that, you need Category 1 to Category 2 bushings. So what this does is it takes a Category 2 size hole and then it makes it a Category 1 size hole. So that way when you put category 1 size pins in there, there's no wobble and looseness. It just goes in nice and tight. So you're going to need 2 of those because these are your lower arm category 1 to category 2 bushings. And then you're going to need a top link bushing. This is a category 1 to category 2 top link bushing. So that bushing is what goes in this category 2 top link. I'm going to be putting that on as I put the pins and everything in, so that way it's all nice and tight. All right, well, the quick hitch is on. Now, let me go over a couple things with you, what I had to do. So again, this tractor is a Cat 2. It's a category 2 3-point hitch. And I didn't realize how big the balls were on my tractor.
Big, huge.
So on a category 1 3-point, you've got a smaller rotating cup ball down here. I'll show you in here. There is a ball in there that you put the pin through and that makes, you know, all of this come together. Well, that ball on a category 2 is pretty wide. So as you can see, I had to bend those lower pieces of metal out. Not a massive amount, but it was enough to give me a little bit of a headache. In the beginning, I just got a crescent wrench. I kind of opened them up a little bit, and then I tried to hammer those in with a small sledge to get the ball hole and the hole on the side of these lined up. Now, it doesn't bother me at all, but I did beat up a little bit on the outside of this because, again, I was hitting that with a sledgehammer. I gotta say, man, I was really going at it, and not one weld on this thing has cracked. So that really just lets me know that this thing was welded pretty well and should hold up well, because that's, you know, you're wedging that into the metal, and even on the inside I couldn't see anything cracking. Now, the reason I did it that way, I mean, there's other things I could have done. Sure, I could have put, you know, different category 1 balls in there, or I could have even got, you know, it's got these pull out lower arms. I could have pulled that out and got a different, you know, category 1 end on it. I don't want to do any of that. I want to keep my tractor category 2, but I want to use the quick hitch for category 1. So I don't want to take away its ability to do category 2 whenever I want. And that's why I did it that way. Now, I wasn't honestly expecting that ball to be as wide as it was. The last quick hitch I had like this had a lot of play down there in the bottom. This one is nice and tight. So if you have a category 1 tractor and you're putting this on it, it's going to fit perfect. I mean, this thing was right measurements, everything. It looks like it would have just slid on with no problem at all on a category 1. But again, I'm putting a category 1 quick hitch on a category 2 tractor specifically because I have category 1 implements and I want to use the same implements. And I've already got the bushings, everything on them. They're already set up the way I want. So I did the same thing on this other side. The other thing that will happen is you won't be able to use the included little brackets that they put down there. They have some little brackets with pins on them. I just put regular pins, which it will absolutely do, as you can see here. I'm probably gonna buy me some shorter pins that are just basically perfect for that. But regular pins go in that with no problem. And that's it. I've got it all put together. I haven't got to use it yet. It's pretty muddy out here today. And I don't wanna just play in the mud hooking things up. So that'll be in another video. You'll get to see this used a lot more as we go. Like I said, it does have this receiver hitch on it, so that's a big one for me. I was happy that it had it. I didn't want to have to weld one on later or mess around with that. The other thing was the category 2 ball that's up here. Again, is wide, so I had to bend this out a little bit here. That's not really a big problem for me, but I may end up getting a smaller ball in here because the way my top link is set up, you can actually switch out the balls that are in here. I may put a category 1 in there because I'm probably going to squeeze this together some. So all in all, I'm extremely happy with this quick hitch. It's got everything that I wanted to have, and I'm happy to have this for the new tractor because as soon as I start using implements, this thing's really going to just save me a ton of time and headache. So the next thing I need, which I've already ordered it and I got to put it on, is the spur. So there's this device that goes here, goes around the top of this, and what it does is it lets you use non-quick hitch capable implements with your quick hitch. So keep an eye out for that video. I'm going to go ahead and get that put on and show you how that's supposed to work, and that basically will complete the quick hitch. You do need bushings, of course, for your implements, and I'll put a link to quick hitch bushings down the bottom so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. All they do is they go over your category 1 pins to line up and fit nice and full inside of these little holes here for the hooks. But that's it. Everything's there, ready to go.